How do you wholesale? And specifically, what's the mechanics with selling your right to buy on a contract? Stay tuned. We're going to the boardroom. I'm coming in. How's it going? All right, so let's go into the actual mechanics of how to wholesale. And I'm not just talking about buy low, sell high. I want to really get into the nitty-gritty and actually explain to you how to fill out the paperwork. If some of you have gotten it or not, it's actually in the link below. So obviously, to assign a contract, which is what most of you want to do, which has now been recoined as wholesaling, just like ecstasy is now Molly, it's the same. But let's go into the mechanics of it. The first thing you're going to need is a purchase and sales agreement. We suggest you use the one that we're providing you with in the link below, just because it has a liquidated damages clause in it and throughout it, which means that you're only on the hook for whatever you stick out, and if you stick it out, don't be afraid to get it cut off. So you're going to need to have the name of the buying entity, which is you, your LLC or land trust, and or assigned is something you're going to have to write in the event you're not using our paperwork. If you're using our paperwork, and a lot of times you get nervous under pressure, especially if it's your first time, I'm sure some of you guys know what I mean, then you might forget to write in and or assign. That's why we took the liberty of actually writing it into every purchase and sales agreement, aka real estate contract, just for you. Then you're going to need the name of the seller. You plug that right in. You give them a binder deposit. In this particular situation, it's $10. We always suggest you keep it as low as humanly possible. You can do it with nothing. It's better with the exchange of value. So even if it's $1, even if you buy somebody lunch, as long as it's written down and they sign for it, they've received it. Having a selfie of you giving them $1, if it's cash, is great. If you wrote a check, it's just as good. Just more documentation, more ways to back it up in the event they ever turn on you and say they never got that $1 or they never got that lunch. In this particular situation, we've got the property under contract for $100,000. Now, from some of my previous videos, if you have thought ahead and done stupid like research and pulled comparables and overthought everything, and you found out that this property is worth $200,000, but all I want as the seller is $100,000, you are not going to get the deal. Somebody else who didn't think and used their reptile brain, who is much faster than you, will have beaten you to the punch, and this is why my students are kicking your ass. Well, welcome to the dark side, or maybe I should say the light side, because it tends to get a little bit brighter when you're making money. So if this thing is worth $200,000 and we got it under contract for $100,000, there's going to be a whole bunch of words in the contract which you can familiarize yourself with. If you get the audio, there's a lawyer that'll read it to you verbatim. You're then going to sign off on it, and the seller's going to sign off on it, and it's going to be dated. You now have a legally binding purchase and sales agreement. Sure, in certain states there's attorney review, in certain states there's not. You want to make sure once you get that signed, you cloud the title, because as soon as you let other people know that you have this deal, $100,000 under contract, many of them at your local real estate clubs will go around you directly to the seller if you haven't clouded the title, cut you off, buy it directly from them for $100,000. You will lose out and get absolutely and they'll tell you, hey, I think you learned a lesson, and that's an expensive one. So you got to make sure, and you can refer to one of our previous videos, maybe we can even link it down below, that you get that cloud on the title after you get the purchase and sales agreement. And as we know from previous videos, a cloud on the title is the real estate version of a block. And by the way, while you're thinking about that and laughing, smash the subscribe button for me. Hey, thanks. So now you know you got to deal with about $100,000 in equity. But if you're going to try to squeeze every last penny out of it, and some of you are a little too greedy, like if I gave you a penny, I think you'd pinch the beard right off of Abraham Lincoln. You got to realize that 50 cents today is a lot more important than $1 that's never going to materialize. You can't deposit a thought. So you need to turn that potential $100,000 in equity into cash as quickly as possible. There's many ways to do that. You could put signs in front of the house. Just remember, you are not actually selling the property. You're selling your right to buy it. You can try buyers lists. You can put it up on many of these different Facebook groups or social media communities. Just be aware of the fact that if you do a lot of these, you're going to piss off a lot of realtors, and sooner or later somebody is going to accuse you of practicing real estate without a license. That's not a crime as long as you have a signed purchase and sales agreement and you can back it up. So go ahead, talk a lot of back it up, but don't ever try to sell a property before you have a signed purchase and sales agreement. And even then, you're not selling the property, you're only selling your right to buy. So you're going to shop this thing around. You're going to have some people, you're going to go, look, I have it under contract for $100. It's worth $2. What's it worth to you? Somebody will say $10,000, $20, $30, $40, $50. Boom, you can get up on stage in some of these real estate clubs when the world opens back up and even auction these things off. And then comes the time to fill out your assignment of contract or assignment of purchase and sales agreement form, which is really simple. It's a one-pager, and it will have a date on it. The date on it on the top is going to be the date referenced on the purchase and sales agreement. So 7/1/20, okay? Between buyer and seller, and that's the buyer and seller from the purchase and sales agreement, not the new buyer or the assignee who you have just procured. I know, big word. That means found. Then it's going to say concerning, and that is the property address. You're going to write that in so you know what property you're assigning. Boom. The new buyer or the assignee will then sign, and so will you. You then, at least if you're me, and honestly, you can do this, can ask them right then and there on the spot for a check. You don't have to hand this over without getting paid. They may not want to give all of it to you. They may ask you stupid questions like, what is customary? Well, it's customary, I get it all. If you don't have it, I understand, okay? Assignment of contract is best used if it's not a short sale and your buyer is paying cash. Some hard money lenders will allow you to buy under an assignment of contract. Many mortgage companies will not, because they think it's a flip and they see somebody who is not a licensed realtor walking away with $50,000 and they just don't believe you can buy that low. They think it must be some kind of fraud. Plus, people who have taken out mortgages historically in the past to buy properties that were assigned to them have a higher default rate than people who have not bought properties that were assigned. And that's because so many of you piece of wholesalers on YouTube have done stupid where you artificially inflate the price of a property to more than it's worth and then fudge a bunch of the numbers and pay off appraisers and everything else. That's fraud. Eventually it's going to catch up to you. You're going to jail. You need to actually buy the things or get them under contract below market and then turn around and remember, 50 cents today is better than $1 that will never materialize. If your assignee does not have all the money, get as much as you can right here, right now, today. Always remember the power of now. You can get the rest of it at the closing. Make sure they're paying cash or using a hard money lender. If they're using a hard money lender, get on the phone with that person and make sure they're okay with this, because it's your job to get paid and get paid as quickly as possible. This is the second half of a wholesale deal or an assignment of contract, which so many of you are just obsessed. You get all moist when you hear wholesale. I hope this helped you guys out. I hope you really know how to do it now. The paperwork's available on the link below. My name's Chuck Kohout. Always be closing. Smash the subscribe button. Give me some likes, and let's hear some feedback in the comments. Bye for now.